Good evening. I'm Dan,
I'm Paul.
and we are here to present some specifications of the optics that we used in the LPVO MTS Shootout. So, we are going to compare the Eotech optics at this time, all right? And not compare as in which one's better, but provide the specifications so that you can make a comparison of the two. This may allow you to make a decision on something that you're interested in. We got Black Friday coming up, right?
Yeah.
So there may be some pretty good sales. All prices are coming from your optics, so we're going to jump right into this one, all right? So we got the Eotech Vudu 1:8x24 coming in at $12.99. It's second focal plane, with the HC3 reticle. It's a 30 millimeter tube. Eye relief comes in between 3.46 and 4.09 inches.
Yeah, which is Eotech actually lists them by magnification. So that first number is 1x, the second number is full mag. Most of these companies don't list that. I just want to note that there.
Great note. Field of view is 105.8 at 1x, and then 13.2 at 8x. Okay, and that's about average at max magnification. And then we come in at 21.15 ounces, so kind of in the middle of the weight range. So Paul's going to talk a little bit about some of the eye relief and eye box impressions that we were able to catch.
Yeah, so your gracious host here swapped these from the last video. So this is the 8 and this is the 10. But just to clarify, gracious host being me. So daylight brightness. I've seen people online say that this scope is daylight bright, and I just don't see it. Nobody did.
No.
It is absolutely terrible on the illumination if that's your thing. Now, why is that my thing? Because we do a lot of up close shooting on 1x. It's important for that. I don't feel it's important for much beyond that. Now to the eye box and stuff. What was the relief on the Vudu 8?
1x 3.46 to 4.09, then at 8x.
Okay, so again, I went a little further than that, trying to get an idea of usable eye box. So the image is full for about 0.8 of an inch, which is actually pretty tight compared to some of these other ones. But it's usable for about 3 3/4 of an inch. So you do have some play in there before a scope shadow takes it over and makes it almost unusable. Actually, totally unusable. But so the glass in this is really good.
It is nice.
There was some visible fishbowling up close. But the fishbowling that you see in close images doesn't really translate out once you get out on the range and you're shooting further than 10 yards. You really don't see it. But it is kind of a testament to the quality of glass, I believe anyway. So other than that, we've got, the glass at night, low light stuff. We did some low light pictures. The images that you're going to see have been doctored a little bit to look more realistic. When you take a picture at night with these new cameras, they, crank the exposure way up and the image looks really bright. And that's not what it looks like in real life. So I actually went through all these pictures and tried to adjust them as I was taking the picture to make it look real. So that's not what you're going to see online in other pictures, but it should be pretty close to what you see in real life as you're behind the scope.
And we took the time to look at them comparatively and say, this is about as close as we can get to what we're actually seeing through our eye and compared to what we captured on the photo. So we're making the best effort we can to be consistent in getting this information over to you guys accurately.
Oh, and the eye box. I forgot about the eye box.
Go for
the relief. The eye box on this scope's pretty good. I rated them with numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and I have this one written down as a 4. Short of the relief, it's got a really forgiving eye box. You can kind of get in angles and stuff, but there again, like I said, the perfect window of relief is kind of tight. So it's not as good as some of the other ones, but it's absolutely not the worst, not the tightest. It's completely usable when you're, odd or whatever like that. So I think that is all we have on the Vudu 8, right?
Cool. Yeah, I don't have anything else to add. We're going to transition right to the 1 to 10 by 20 8. All right. This comes in at $16.99. I'll say this again. One of the nice things about the Eotech range is there isn't a lot of variance in the price for getting some additional glass. All right. Some of the others, that price change is huge. This particular line, you know, an extra $400 gets you out to 10x if that's what you're looking for. You do transition to first focal plane. This particular optic has the SR5 reticle, 34 millimeter tube.
Yeah, and that reticle is pretty cool too. It's got the Eotech, like you see through your holograph.
Yep.
It's got that ring, and then, you know, as you zoom in, it's got a pretty usable reticle for finer work too. So
yeah, and you'll get to see that. We shot at 200 yards, and then zoomed all the way back out to 1x. So you'll get to see how the reticle transitions to the notorious Eotech reticle that you're all familiar with. So 34 millimeter tube, eye relief at 3.2 to 3.9, so a little bit larger range but tighter, or closer rather, on paper. Field of view goes to 116 from 105, and then 11.7 though at max magnification. And then weight-wise, actually gets lighter at 20.3. And Paul, you put these on the scale, right?
Yeah. I weighed them all myself, and I don't quite understand that, but you know, the scale doesn't lie. At least I don't believe it does. No, you know, it's right on everything else. So
it's a big scale. It's a pretty good scale.
Yeah. So I don't know, unless they use maybe a little bit thinner tubing, or if something's different in the erectors for the moving the reticle and stuff like that. So did you have anything else on that?
No. Just we will give our final thoughts on these two in a little more detail.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So daylight bright, this is one of the ones that it is daylight bright, but it's also kind of conditional, right? Like, you can see it that it's red, but it doesn't really catch your eye like a red dot would. Which kind of slows it down on one, and then that reticle, that big Eotech ring that comes in, it's really large on this thing one too. So that's not really all that helpful for short or close fast work. But it is, at least in the Northeast, it's daylight bright.
Yeah.
You know, with the caveat there of being, you can see that it's red, but it's not like the, you know, nuclear bright, how they say it. The eye relief on this thing in my little test was actually probably the worst. You know, so you have a full image with no scope shadow for about 1/2 inch. That's back and forth. And then you have a usable image for about 2.5 inches, which, like I said, is, as I'm looking, I have it all on chart here too, is the worst one out of all of them.
Yeah.
It's a little marginal. It's close to some, but it is the worst. The rest of the eye box in this thing is pretty tight as well. From our observations, it's not the worst. It's not the tightest eye box that we have, but it is pretty tight. And then it gets worse as you zoom in, like they all will. So on 10, it's really tight. The glass in it's really good. There's no edge distortion. It's real bright. You'll see that in the low light stuff. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else on this one, except I do, shooting at 200 yards, I did really like this reticle.
Yeah.
On it.
It's incredible how it changes. I think that if Eotech in future revisions can make the 1x dot match the holographic some way, I think that's really going to be a game changer.
Yeah, it'd be good for the scope. The scope, DMR work, or DMR type work, I think it's really got a place there. You know, but like I said, between the eye box and the relief and stuff being tight, you know, there's other options for up close.
We'll really
better. Yeah.
No, absolutely, and we'll really get into our final thoughts on these optics. Again, none of them performed poorly. We were able to shoot them all very well at both close and long ranges. So, you know, the Eotechs have a nice quirk I just want to mention of a push button illumination here on the side, and then adjustments horizontally, so that's really nice. They're well built. They have a good ability to adjust magnification easily.
They both
throw
throw levers. Yeah.
Yep. So they're nice. They're a nice product line as a whole. So we'll talk more about them in our final thoughts video.
Yep.
How we shot them, how fast we were compared to a red dot, and we'll kind of get into all that nitty gritty once we're all back together again.
Yep. So I believe that is it on these two.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks.